Oh, trust me, I know. The same way the United States created the Taliban. Trust me, I know. It's interesting how, my family fled Nazi Germany. I'm German. So I know all about propaganda, and how to turn everybody against a group of people and dehumanize an entire group of people to commit genocide. I know all about that. And I know that the media is literally controlled by the Jews. I'm from New York City. Our Jewish people here, they have their own police, they have their own hospitals. The USA gave reparations to the Jews after the Holocaust and gave them a shit ton of property, so they own a lot of property. That's why a lot of your landlords here in New York will be Jewish. I had a Jewish landlord who drove a Mercedes. As much as they like to claim that they're persecuted, I hate to compare and contrast people's trauma and pain, but black people have had a larger, much larger death toll than the Jews. No offense, and that's not to minimize what the Holocaust was, but black people still haven't received reparations, and they went through a much longer, to this day, period of time where they're still affected. Like Domino Sugar is from slavery. Tiffany's yeah, Diamond, slavery. Citibank funded the Atlantic slave trade, so I would suggest you stop banking with Citibank. But yeah, black people have yet to receive any reparations. In fact, black slaves, African slaves, built all of New York City. So with that being said, a lot of the stuff that was given to Jews actually belongs to black people. No offense, you know what I'm saying? Because they live in the ghettos with black people, but they're obviously not in the same, tax bracket, right? They're doctors and lawyers and shit like that. And then they use their wives to get welfare and EBT for their children, so they also scam the system. Yeah, that's something they do here too. That's why a lot of Jews are on welfare and get EBT. And my mother used to live in a place called Williamsburg, and with her foster mother, and she said because one time she fell on the floor, and they would look at her with disgust because if you're a Jew here, like if you're Orthodox or whatever, I don't know. There's different levels to this shit. Hasidic, right? Hasidic. They look at you like you're not a chosen people of God, so they won't even touch you. Like they will literally watch a person on the floor dying and not help them because you're not Jewish. That's how the really extremist Jews here are. Yes, they are. And they're Ashkenazi, so they're not the original Hebrews. Israel was given to the Ashkenazi Jews, which are Europeans who practice Judaism. They are not the original Hebrews who are black and brown. They're just Europeans that practice Judaism and claim to be the chosen people of God, which I find it hard to believe that a white person would be the chosen person of God since the dominant genes are black, right? So we know the first human being was a melanated human being. So it doesn't make sense. How would a mutation, which is white skin, like blonde hair, blue eyed, white skin is literally a mutation. How would a mutation be the chosen person of God and you weren't even the first human on earth? So that automatically never made sense to me. And me saying all this, I'm probably going to get taken down and be called anti-Semitic. And yeah, I'm German, so of course, Now, I don't agree with the Holocaust. I don't agree with any murder or genocide committed on any women and children, any type of torture, suffering. I don't agree with any of that at all. So let me just make that fucking clear. I do find it extremely unfair and biased that Jews do receive special treatment ever since that, and that black people have not. That's kind of where I'm at with it because they helped Jewish people get out of their situation and assisted them, the United States, and they never to this day help black people. They still to this day, black people still have to deal with the aftermath of slavery, and they've never received reparations at all, at all. So it's interesting you gave these people an entire country that didn't belong to them, and then you want to get mad when the Palestinians feel like their country was being colonized and invaded and taken from them. That's kind of where it began in 1948. What are you doing? Sorry. This is why you're not supposed to do this and drive. Yes, we can't generalize. I'm sure there are Jews out there who do not support what Israel is doing because just because you're Jewish doesn't mean you should support it. Just like I'm German, and by the way, Hitler was not German. He was Austrian, and he was also Jewish. He hated his mother. Hitler's mother was Jewish, which was what made him Jewish. And he was Austrian. He was a painter from Austria. He was not even German. He's not from Germany. Germany was in a very vulnerable state, kind of like what the United States is right now. And Hitler came as a leader and said he's going to make Germany great again. No, I'm not kidding. You can look that up. You can look up Hitler's speeches. He literally said he's going to come and make Germany great again. While Germany was in a pretty financially bad situation and they weren't doing good and they were in a vulnerable state. And they did have a constitution that, Hitler, of course, performed his coup and overturned, right? Like Germany actually had a similar constitution to the United States that had rights and shit, like kind of like what's happening now, how they're like trying to take those away. So Israel creates this propaganda where they're the victim, and Palestine is the perpetrator, and dehumanizes Palestine. And you would be surprised how many people in the United States are flying Israeli flags, because I'm in New York. There's a lot of Jewish people here, and almost even white people who are not Jewish are just blindly supporting Israel just because they're white. I'm telling you right now. So to me, this is just simply clear supremacy. What Israel's doing is clear supremacy. It's no different than what the Nazis did. You're literally being a Nazi because you're unaliving the black and brown people, and all these white people are just blindly supporting Israel. And then let's not forget the rich people and the celebrities who are forced to support them because Jews run the media. At least in America they do. I don't know about y'all countries, but they run that shit here. They own most of the property here. Them and the Chinese own majority of the property in the United States. And they definitely run the media. Yeah. Disney was a Jew. So of course I'm gonna get called anti-Semitic and all sorts of shit. I grew up my whole life in Brooklyn. This is where the majority of Jews live. My mother had to grow up in Williamsburg. And if you know what Williamsburg is, I'm not trying to say nothing, but they're not the nicest people. And also another thing about the Ashkenazi Jews is that they were a large part of the slave trade. Yes, they were the largest slave traders in Brazil, and Brazil actually had the largest amount of slaves, even more than the United States. They had 4 million slaves at one point. They had more slaves than the United States had. Brazil, yes. Brazil actually has the largest black community in the world, believe it or not. I know, I had to look it up for myself. It's pretty crazy. And speaking of the devil, there was a lady crossing the street, and I'm making a right turn, so obviously I don't want to hit her and run her over. And there was a Jewish man behind me honking at me, wanting me to go. And there's an older black lady crossing the street. You want me to run the lady over? This is a prime example. They be walking in the middle of the street expecting you to stop for them. Like, I can never fall for the propaganda. I already know what's going on. It's obvious to me what's going on, and the people that support them are clearly fucking racist and support clear supremacy and fucking Nazis. And this video is probably gonna get taken down, but